Hey guys, when the difference between winning and losing comes down to quality, choose Addicted Marine Performance Parts. What do they do, Hayden?
You know what? They're your go-to source for high-quality billet aluminium parts. Originally engineered for the intensity of race boats, but now it's available to upgrade your ski boat.
Very nice.
You know, they also specialise in cab plate hardware, performance-driven steering components and internal fit-out accessories. And they also supply Argo V drives and all the accessories to go along with them.
That they do. If you demand the best in marine components, remember one name, Addicted Marine Performance Parts.
Everybody out there, I want to know, who wants to go fast? Let's go one
Welcome back to another episode of the High Speed Garage. We've got a special guest episode today. We've got Craig Cook here with us. Craig Cook is a renowned Australian master butcher. He's the owner of the premium retail chain Craig Cook's The Natural Butcher. What made you get into the butcher game and why did you expand into the retail, like the chain store sort of thing?
Well, the butcher game was a mistake. I actually had applied to be a motor mechanic because I was mad about engines and things as a young bloke. My brother was a mad car guy, and I wanted to be a motor mechanic. So I left school and I said to Dad, I've got the job down at a place called Dwyer's in Wollongong. And anyway, right before school was starting again, Dwyer's rang and said, we've decided not to take on any apprentices. Dad said, well, you know what you're doing? Yes. He said, you're going back to school. I said, oh, no. So anyway, I walked the streets and I said, no, I got another job. Because to my father's disgust, he looked at me and said, what? And anyway, it ended up being a butcher's job and I became a butcher in Wollongong and it's all history from there. But I'm glad I did because I love food and love butchering. So
yeah, we do too. We love smoking meats and
I love going to the butcher shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great memories. And as I say, for me, it was a win.
Yep. So you've done the what's the word? The chain store sort of thing.
Yeah, built a chain of butcher shops.
Yep. How many you got now?
Well, there's 15 stores.
15, yeah, right.
And we have another wholesale division that we serve hotels and good quality restaurants. And then we do a little bit of export into countries overseas and gives me the opportunity to spend a bit of time out of the country with that as well.
Yep.
But it's all about just specialised meats, grass-fed products, healthy products.
Yep.
And it seems to be the direction that the world's taking with a lot of product now, not just meat, but food in general. And it seems to be really working.
What was the expansion like to do all that sort of stuff? Was it pretty tough, or did you have it clear in your head what you was going to do, or did you run into any obstacles?
No, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to make butcher shops better and make them different. And the way to go about that, firstly, was to sort of surround myself with the right staff and the right people. Once I established that, look, it's the hardest hurdle was getting the first one.
Yep.
After that, you always have a few hiccups along the way, but if you can break the cycle of doubt, which is what most people suffer when they're building,
yep,
is the doubt that I may fail or may not make it. If you can break that cycle, you'll succeed. And really that's all it's about, because all you're doing is providing a service to people, and the better you can provide that service, you can't fail.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the biggest issue with most of us. It's the self-doubt.
Yeah.
As soon as you can push past that, you're actually full of confidence. And
scared of getting it wrong.
Yeah, it is. And look, you'll get that doubt. It happens, and anyone who tells you they don't are not telling you the truth. The thing is being able to just push it aside, get past it, and believe in what you're going to do. And look, everything's achievable if you believe in it. And it's funny, you'll say things in life, but you dream about a lot of things. But the only way you can make that dream come true or turn into fruition is by believing in it.
Yep.
And I think, as most of your listeners will find, if they've some night dreamt about something or thought about something really deeply that they want to do, if they've concentrated enough, they'll achieve it. And,
yep.
Yeah.
And I really believe in that.
Having a go.
Yeah, and wanting it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of
You want
people
it, but-
think they want it, but the ones who really want it are the ones like the champion runner or the champion fighter. He's the one who, or she is the one that really wanted it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
getting
Plenty
it
of people
done.
say, I want to
Yeah.
win that. I want to win that race, but you know what I mean? So,
Yeah, excuses get in the road sometimes.
well, you make those excuses
Yeah.
because you become unsure. And unless you can push past that excuse of uncertainty, you won't make it.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know, but
Those words are ringing very true to me at the moment.
look, it's factual in anything, and I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of people in my life, and good people and not so good people, but the ones that have really sort of left a mark are the ones that I met that just believed in what they were going to do.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether it's food, whether it's motor mechanic, or whether it's boat racing, as we all love. It's just a belief that you can do it,
Yep.
or you want to do it.
Yeah.
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 So we'll pull it back a bit to the butchery. I am quite interested in your butchery background because that's you.
Yes.
But you spruik a lot of the paddock to plate advertisement alongside the natural butchery.
Yep.
What's it mean in terms of you running your own farms in the Southern Highlands to be able to achieve that
Well, look,
goal?
what I started in the Southern Highlands was a small start farm because I wanted consistency of product. I had one butcher shop or two butcher shops at the time. I couldn't get what I believed was consistent meat. I'd grown up working on a dairy farm as a young boy, and I believed I knew a little bit about meat. Honest truth, I knew nothing at that stage. But I knew that I wanted consistency in what I sold, and I needed that to grow. At that stage, I didn't have the money or the resources to be able to grow all my own. So the thing was to start with a farm and then bring other farmers together with the same passion or thought that I have. Then I could grow the butcher shops and put the product into the shops.
Yep.
Without having to own 10
Yes,
million
so
acres
many,
of property.
Yeah.
I could bring like-minded people together, which is what I did. People that were not even out of the field of farming. They might have been lawyers, barristers, doctors, real estate agents, whatever. But they wanted a farm.
Yep.
So I gave them the tools to work with on that farm, which then gave me the product to grow more shops and have more product in the shops. So it was the ethos of believing in, again, I was doing grass-fed meat in Australia and doing dry-aged meat before most people even knew what it was. It was very big in Europe. I brought the idea of biodynamic farming off a gentleman that came from Europe, Podolinsky. He went to Victoria and set up, and biodynamic farming became a great process of creating very naturally raised animals. And then I just developed the grass-fed product from there. Talked to people who had good breeding. Bit like everything we do, the base has got to be very good. So by exploring people that had the right breed of animals to grow in the right time, I learned a lot from doing the judging and the purchasing at the Royal Easter Show, where we would understand again from school kids, and I still do that up to right till now, that are growing cattle in these agricultural schools and understanding more about what particular breeds grow better or faster or healthier or whatever reason than others. So we put that into practice on the land, and it's given us certainly the opportunity to take things a lot further. You know?
So you do the online stuff
Yes.
as well?
Yeah, online home delivery's become very big.
Yep.
COVID really gave that a shot in the arm.
Yep.
Prior to COVID, we were finding it reasonably hard to get traction. It's really grown and it's taken a big shot. What has also taken a big move is click and collect.
Oh, yeah.
People now want to, and the supermarkets have led the way there, but people still want to sort of get out and go somewhere. So whether it's driving to the car park to get their meat or whether
Yep.
it's walking to the butcher shop and it's ready for them, they're time poor, but they
Yeah.
still want to believe they're doing something.
Yeah.
So click and collect I believe, is going to be a big part of our future because people need the outlet. They need the mental stimulation to be doing something, but they don't want to waste any time doing it. So
Yeah.
if they can walk past the butcher shop counter, go, Mr. Johnson, got an order? Yep, bang, click, gone, collect.
When they've got time, they can get on their phone and search through or their laptop or whatever and pick what they want and then put the order in when they know they're going to be near there or something like that. Like I know my wife does it from her work. She knows sort of what day she's going to be able to get away early, and she'll just put the order in and say, yeah, I'll pick it up that day, and she can just drive straight to the supermarket, pick it all up and come back.
And look, that's where it is. It's very interesting. I would never have thought or said to anybody that we'd be delivering meat through Uber Eats.
Yeah.
A number of years ago. We now do Uber Eats, and people order their meat on Uber Eats.
Yeah.
They go online, put it on, and Uber Eats, the little bloke arrives at the door. It was quite funny in the beginning when he'd turn up at the shop with the bag and the chiller bag, and he'd be there. And I'd think, is this going to get there? What's going to happen here? But it's been a great success for us, and Uber Eats are phenomenal with how they operate their business, and we've just seen that side of the business take off. In a sense, somebody might want 3 sausages for dinner, and they'll
just
they'll
get
order
it.
Uber Eats. I need 3 sausages, or I need 5 lamb chops, and they'll have it delivered.
Yeah,
They're not fussed about the delivery price. They just want that fresh.
Yeah, it's such
product.
a nominal amount on the product that nobody really worries. The convenience of, as we're sitting here now and we went, geez, hang on, we're going to have some chops after dinner.
No time at
You
all.
can Uber Eat, and the guy will be here shortly, a few dollars. It's more, again, about the people's time. Time has become the biggest killer now of most businesses, because people are very precious about their time, and COVID has brought that on, and they got the ability to work from home and work within. So we've now got to design our businesses around time, and the businesses that do that by way of AI and future will be the businesses that will really succeed.
Yeah, it does make sense. It's very hard to manufacture yourself some time when you're super busy at work or whatever, trying to find time. Like I love going to the local butcher down here.
Yeah.
There's not a chance I'd Uber Eats anything from there, because I just want to go to the shop, check it all out, look at everything, go. When I walk in there, I smell it all, and I'm like, I just want one of everything, but I just can't afford one of everything.
And look, we hope that always stays, and that's the art of retail, and we want that to survive. The biggest enemy it's got is the cost of running. Building a retail store, the electricity, and so on.
Overheads, yeah.
When simply, if you can market it well enough online, and you've got an Uber Eats to deliver it, it makes the job a whole lot more easy.
Yep.
You can be a lot more competitive.
Yeah, you don't need the big shop fronts, all that
And
sort of
there's
stuff.
a lot more margin in the business.
Yeah.
You can offer more, and you can maintain more, and you can receive more.
Yep.
And you can offer a service that people really love.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
So back to the training you'd been organising with the farms that you work with. On that sort of line, if you're trying to inform other people of how things are happening, what do you reckon the most misunderstood thing about making quality meat that you wish the customers knew?
Look, the biggest mistake everyone makes is they think that breeding is not terribly important. And sadly, look, you can have the best farm in the world, but if they're the wrong item, I say that sheep, cattle or so on, they'll do okay, but they won't do exceptionally. It's all about the base product. Again, that works for anything in life. Great bread is made from great products. Great salamis, great small goods are made from great products. You can still make the product, but it won't be as good as the best product. It's like sourdough breads these days. People didn't really care much for it in the past, but now that they make unbelievable sort of sourdough and wholemeal breads and so on, that market has exploded. So the cattle industry and the sheep industry for us is all about breeding. Yes, you need the 2 key components, grass and water, but breeding is everything. Breeding makes growing times quicker, it makes performance times quicker, and it makes yield better. And that's where if you can raise an animal 3 months quicker than your friend next door to the same weight, but with better yields, you're a mile in front.
You're in front, yeah.
And that's what breeding does.
So when you say breeding, does that mean like the specific breed of cow or the process?
Specific bloodlines.
Yep.
You'll work with specific bulls, but you'll also work with a specific heifer or breeder in the cattle industry, Rennie Lee, Millamurra, good breeds like that, and then you'll put a KO bull or a very good bloodline bull over the top of them, and that starts your breeding herd and your growing herd into a better level of quality. And it's a bit like building anything. The foundation's got to be right for you to succeed. But the great thing about the Royal Easter Show is, and I say this for all young kids, if there is some listening today, the kids and the school kids at the Royal Easter Show are given a set of tools to raise animals for 12 months. Now, they can pick whatever breed they like, they can pick so on. They're given the same feed, the same regime, and you'll see a mile of difference in particular animals that have done exactly the same thing for the 12 months that the school kids have been working on them, and that's purely based on breed.
Yeah, that's cool.
They've been fed the same process. So it's probably the most important thing for success in my industry, the background.
So do you think that the work that you're doing on the bloodline is the biggest benefit you've got on balancing the premium quality with the accessibility to
By
everyday
far.
people?
Yeah.
And I don't want this to sound like an ad because, no, we're not getting paid to talk about meat, but we're all meat, we're all eating it. So I'd like to know about this sort of stuff.
Yeah, look, by far. Look, the cleaner the animal is on the way through with good bloodlines, the better it'll be. And that's really what it boils down to. And that's not an ad. It's just a matter of having animals that are raised naturally. Look, at some time through that animal's life, he's going to have to, or she is going to have to be fed supplement product, i.e. loosen hay or feed because the property's low on feed, or there's drought, or there's not enough rain and growth. But those animals that are not terribly well bred will do it very tough. The ones that are bred well will come through it in shining colours. So to get quality on the back end where we are at the dinner table eating it, it's got to be right on the feed end, on the farm end.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've been talking about a lot of cows,
Yes.
but I did see today when I was doing some research for this afternoon's interview that your hams are pretty well renowned as well.
Yeah, we are. And again, look, the process of curing and smoking a ham is a certain amount of process, but without the base product being right, we use a Berkshire pig, a free-range pig. It's a black pig for our legs throughout the year. We put those legs away, and that gives us a base product to be cured, smoked, and done right. We've got a few thoughts on that I've learnt over the years, where we actually cure the hams below moisture levels. So instead of sitting it on a bench and pumping it full of brine on the bench, it's actually done in a tank of brine, and it's pumped within the tank, which retains all the goodness within the leg and the brine. But again, a great ham comes from a great pig.
Mm-hmm.
Like anything.
Yeah.
It all any kind of work you're doing, whether you're painting your house or whatever, all starts at the start. If you get something wrong at the start, it's going to be wrong at the end.
No different, exactly. If you don't prep the house right with the painting, it doesn't come up any good.
Yep.
And we're exactly the same, and we were lucky enough this year to get chosen as Sydney's best ham, which was a wonderful accolade, up against a number of butchers, and we're very proud of that. But again, there's not a lot of secrecy in it. It's more just the science of starting with the base product.
Yep.
Yep.
So talking about heaps of meat, do you get into much cooking? Do you like cooking?
Love it. Don't start me there. We'll be talking all night. I love cooking. And look, that's been a big part of it as well, because when I started down this road of butchery, had I not loved cooking, I probably would not have succeeded quite as much. But the fact that I loved cooking and food and what I did with it and creative with food, that helped me enormously within the business. And I encourage the young fellows coming through the business with me to do the same.
Yeah.
To really create something, make something different,
Yeah, I love getting into a bit of cooking. It's a shame I don't have too much time to do it, but when I do, I probably do, I wouldn't say most of the cooking at home, because the missus does do a fair bit, but she does sort of all just your plain stuff that's really easy, like your spag bowl and all those kind of things. But when I'm cooking, it's always something a bit more
bit
extravagant.
fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, food again, it's just about flavours. Just experiment with flavours.
Yeah.
And that's how great meals have come about. People have experimented, and
Yep.
that's really where the success is, for sure.
So we've been talking about great food comes from a great animal.
Yep.
If we want to pivot a little bit, we can say great race boats come from a great team. So it seems you've got a fairly decent amount of good people behind you for what you've done for your race boat career.
Yeah, look, I've been really lucky, and I say that we've been through an era of great boat races around the world and along the way, but I seem to have been lucky enough to stumble onto very good people. When I got my first Sanger flat bottom, it was through Neil Johnson in Wollongong, a boat called Justice, and I had Reno Grosso at the time doing the engines, and I was lucky enough, Neil introduced me to going to America in late 78, Long Beach, California, and then I met dear American friends, and along the way, Ron Braxmer, who was a world champion at Top Fuel, came along, but probably Gary Kincaid was one of the most amazing people I met. He and Larry Schwarberlander used to drive for Sanger, and I was lucky enough to meet Larry in Fresno, California, as a driver. But Gary Kincaid, took me down the road of alcohol hydros, and we raced in America, and we were runner-up at the World Finals in America, with Gary driving the boat and working on it. And then I sort of lost my mind and decided I'd get a fuel boat, and Ron Braxmer became part of that world. Gary was in alcohol then, going on to fuel boat, but Ron had been in fuel boats for some time, and I'd met Ron Braxmer at length, and I talked Ron into coming to Australia, and of course we built a Jim Dunn Bullet fuel boat, and Ron was very helpful with that. Right down to the point till he sadly passed of a heart attack. But we spent a lot of time together.
I've got a old VCR video at home of Ron Braxmer. It probably would have been early 90s, I'm going to say, when he broke the record. I think it was maybe 220 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Seems slow for like these days, but back in the 90s, far out.
Well, I only had one propeller, remember?
Yeah.
So they were pretty fast. I watched Eddie Hill run 230 mile an hour at a particular event, and then he backed it up at 229 mile an hour. But in between time, he'd hurt the engine on one cylinder, and he didn't have time to work on the engine to go into the finals. So he said, "That's easy. Take the valve cover off, take the rockers off that cylinder, and take the spark plug out, and we'll run."
Yeah.
And he went out and won and ran 230 mile an hour with once the fuel was just blowing out of that cylinder into the air.
Incredible, isn't it?
I'd never seen anything like it in my life. And that was Eddie Hill, the Texan. And he just, you just can't fathom some of the things that these guys did. But the difference in that era was they were men that were boat racers more so than car racers come into, and I'm not saying anything wrong with that, but the guys that were racing boats in those days were die-hard
Boat people. Yeah.
And they lived and breathed boats. You had guys that built propellers, guys that built blowers, but they all associated together, the boat guys. And I think there was a lot more technology in that era, as we probably saw in Australia in that 50s and 60s, 70s era where people were creating and designing boats, and, you had certain people designing propellers and people coming to Australia that we'd never seen. We've lost a little bit of that in the older times now because that sort of real die-hard boat builder, boat designer doesn't seem to be there in our sport. There's certainly in the big money sports like offshore racing and so on, but in our sport, I think we're still sort of working with an older version of design, but the latest and greatest engines.
Yeah, it is quite interesting seeing the race boats we've got now. Like my race boat's still one of the current boats up not my boat, but my type of hull. Like you look at Madness out there, he turns up and he's still king of the kids. That's what's that? A 30-year-old designed race boat?
Yeah,
It's
we're-
probably
Yeah,
it's
we're
probably
not.
built 30 years ago, but it's the design's a lot older.
But then you look back in the day when you're talking back in the 70s and the early 80s, things were changing so fast. Do you think it's just because we've found something good, we're just perfecting what we've got instead of starting again?
No, I think the biggest problem is we're trapped in the sense that you need somebody that is out there. And I'll give you an example. Jim Dunn, who built our Bullet Hydro, which is an outrigger boat, the sponsons come off and so on. Jim Dunn designed that boat in 1968 in Sanger, working for Jack Davison in Sanger. They couldn't make it work. They couldn't make enough horsepower in those days for a twin propeller Bullet sponson boat, so it got shelved. Jim, as time went on and life came on, that boat came alive, and today you can't run Top Fuel without an outrigger boat, and it's where it is. We look at Mike Stock with Duff Daly, who are coming here to race, two men that have changed K-boat racing in America as far as design. Everyone was racing a Beesmeyer, Julian Pentacle, make them famous. They were a great boat. All of a sudden, Mike Stock got Duff Daly, and they tore apart a racing craft and broke it in half, did whatever, and a Beesmeyer, and they built
Added
the
all the
boat
good bits
that you see today, which is Mike Stock's boat, which Duff Daly's driving, and the boat we have. So that's the new generation of flat bottom, which is markedly different to the old flat bottom. So somebody's gone out of that era. I think if we can get a boat builder in Australia that wants to step out of the curve a little bit, there is time for new generation of boat, and not taking anything away from Everingham's and Stevens and the great boat builders that we've had. But as I was saying earlier, you could go to America and meet 10 different boat builders, between Cole, Beesmeyer, Unzers. There was people everywhere. Australia, we had Everingham, we had Newleys, we had Ramsey's, you keep naming them. We had plenty of guys building boats. We had the guy down in Ulladulla building boats, and the skiffs were being built, the wooden skiffs and all those era of boats which we had. We sit back today, and if you were starting today right now and you said, I want to build myself a boat in Australia and I'd like something a little different, we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it is.
You can't just go down to the shops and just order one. It's a fairly decent amount of effort to get one.
Well, the era of building them is the cost. See, in the old days, you could go to most boat builders, and there'd be 3 or 4 boats sitting over there for sale that are ready, that are built. Oh, yeah, I've got 2 holes there ready to go, or I've got that, or we can fit that out. You would go to Sanger in America. I remember when I went to Fresno, California, and the Sanger boats. At one stage there, I think I saw 50 boats already built, ready to buy. You could, right. Do you want the runner bottom, or do you want the step bottom, or do you want that? So they were built. Today, Sanger doesn't exist virtually. It does leisure.
Wakeboard boat.
Wakeboard, yeah. And so as far as building race boats, non-existent for Sanger, non-existent for Beesmeyer, non-existent for most today. And as you all know, there's only one UK boat in America. That's Mike Stock's boat, and there's only 2 of them left in America. Ours and Mike's. Sadly, the other 2 have been destroyed and crashed. But there's no one either lining up to say, Mike, build me 10 of these, I need 10, or is there some boats out there? So until we get that next hurdle uncovered, the sport will find it hard to do much more than it's doing now. But what it's doing now is more than I've ever seen in my lifetime anyway. So it's probably, not saying it in a bad way, we've never lined up to see 20, let alone maybe 30 supercharged boats in an event.
Yeah, you got to look back at, like, Newley's, probably say in the last 6 years, really did pump out a fair few boats. As long as they are slow, there's a fair few new boats that are out there or sitting around in sheds unfitted out or whatever, and they're still ready to come out. But there's no one. Turner's picked up them, but he's still not turned a boat out yet either. Like
I think the hardest thing with that sort of thing is while we had the older guys like the Everinghams and all that, because they were older, I think they'd already paid all their bills for their mortgages and whatever else, and they probably didn't need to make as much margin on each boat. So someone new that wants to come into that and start making themselves a boat, they can probably make their own and fund it themselves. But if you wanted to start manufacturing them, you're going to have to sell them at a much bigger price than what, say, Child's Play or Everingham or whoever else was doing it, and you probably wouldn't sell too many, which has probably turned a few people away from doing that.
Yes, I think the difference is the equation. Look, when I was a young fella and I bought my first K-boat, being Justice, I was earning about $18,000 a year. It was with overtime and everything in those days, which was good money, working hard. The K-boat, complete, landed here in Australia was $12,000. So it was not quite half, but a little bit over half the salary. And I had a beautiful brand new Roadrunner trailer, a beautiful Sanger, 427 blower on it, and everything. It was beautiful trick boat. So it was a little bit more than half a year's salary. Today, if you're earning good salary, let's call it $150,000 a year, which is a pretty good salary for most.
Yeah.
You can't build one of today's modern capsule circuit boats with the right engine in it for anything like that.
For half your salary or a little bit over, you'll build an engine.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, from a start with nothing, you wouldn't do it on that sort of money.
So if you say I'm earning 150 a year, what can I build for 75 grand complete, ready to go?
Yeah.
Not one of the latest boats like Hayden yours or many of the other boats there. So the imbalance is that it's become out of whack with income to cost. And that is simply because you don't have a number of people producing the product. The more product produced, the more that's available. Whereas, as we just said, the Newell boys are probably the best there is in the country and have been for a number of years. But, you don't have any options really to go and get a boat today, and you can't barter it off, I think I'll get that one over that one. And mind you, America is exactly the same. There is more so older boats being restored in America, or boats that have been sat in sheds for many years, going that way. And even right to this moment with the rebirthing of drag boat racing in America, it's more so guys chasing down old boats that have been sitting in sheds.
Yep.
That have got captures in them, and they're all there, but they just haven't had the position to sit that way. So I think the cost has got a lot to do with it today. But I think the way to offset that cost today is we need more sponsors in the sport.
It needs to be, everyone's going in the right way. Saying the podcast is going in that direction of exposing the sport more with the TV
for that
programs
kind of thing
that the National Drivers' Championship do, exposing more. So it's not going to happen overnight, but say in 5 years' time, it will get to that next level and you'll be sweet. With sponsors coming in, you go, okay, we've got this, we've got that, we've got this, we've got people talking about it.
Look, events like Chris Palmer's put together with the Worlds and the support of all the boat races that are there is what will bring sponsors and what will make it work. What everybody has got to do now is now we have to bring families back to the event. And the event has got to be a family event. Yeah. And I say that for the simple reason is sponsors want to be part of a family because that puts them in a better position and in the household. So the event needs to attract not only the best blown boats in or stock boats or class boats in their fields, it needs to attract a number of them, but it needs to be a show. It needs to entertain the people by saying that whether it's a hot rod display or a merry-go-round or things in the park or events in the evening. This one day turn up event trying to run a club meeting for one day and guys being expected to run their boats and leave the family for the day and go is not going to attract sponsors. Events that Chris is putting on and many other groups, 2 days, 3 days, 2 weekends, sponsors can really grab hold of that. Television can grab hold of it. But people can make it a family event. If you're interested in boating or racing or so on, the upcoming event at Mildura is going to be fantastic because on the Saturday night we've got the Speedway event. Yeah. Massive event with USA versus Australia and New Zealand. So you've got that happening. You've got the boat racing during the day, the Speedway overnight. 2 entirely different groups of people interested in the event, plus the town, plus the travel. So that's an ideal recipe for a sponsor. All of a sudden,
makes sense.
He grabs everybody.
Yeah.
The TV side of it is exciting to people wanting to watch television, but look, you've got to look at the growth of Formula One, which we've seen over the last 5 years since Bernie Ecclestone started it because he wanted to make it a valuable asset to sell. He led it into an area where he brought families back into, by the way he was racing, bringing younger drivers in, bringing families and teams. It's now been sold to an English company, and they're taking it even further. More people are watching Formula One or going to Formula One events than ever. Countries, in the old days when Brabham was in it for Australia, no one really knew unless you were a die-hard car racer. You didn't follow it. And I think that's where we see boat racing going, and I certainly see drag boat racing in the States going, which will come to these shores as well because they're interested to bring it here to another level because they're bringing nostalgia racing back. They're bringing boats back into the game that people can afford again, but are still exciting to the unknown.
Yeah.
So I wanted to sort of jump onto the drag racing a little bit. So you've always had the Thunder from Down Under race boat that was bought from America, wasn't it?
That was an alcohol hydro, originally built by Jim Prosciutto in America, and then Gary Kincaid worked on the boat to make it the boat it ended up becoming. It still holds a record as the fastest alcohol boat in Australia at 217 mile an hour for the quarter mile, which was done by Gary Kincaid here in Australia. It went on to run with Paul Medill drove it for me for a while after that. And then I sold that boat to a young fellow in Victoria because I built the fuel boat. But what I did with the first fuel boat, I bought a boat of Gary Kincaid's, a boat that was called Top Gun in America. It's now campaigned by Rocky Princey here in Australia called The Peace, but it was a solid sponsor in Curtis. I brought that out, and unfortunately it and the motor that I had in it didn't agree. So I remember Paul Medill got out of that. He said, this boat and I don't go together, and I don't think it goes together. So that was when we dreamed up, and I certainly talked to Ron, and we came up with the idea to build a bullet boat, which is the latest boat in America. It still holds a record at 273 mile an hour at 4.34 seconds for the quarter mile. And that's where it sits. So it's been in the shed for a while. We've just bought new Alan Johnson engines for it. Gary Kincaid's helped me with that. And young Aaron, who works on the Carrots drag car here, has spent a lot of time on it, Aaron Handbridge, helping me get that sorted out. We've got Kevin Kinsley coming out in April for the first campaign of the boat. As you probably know, Problem Child, a 4-time world champion, boats here as well. It'll be on display in Mildura.
That's pretty exciting to see that come over here.
Yeah, fantastic. And look, the guy is another very passionate guy who's bought it, and we look forward to a bit of fun there. So we'll do some testing and some running at the first event, which is in Eildon, in Victoria, Lake Eildon, in April, and then we'll look forward to Penrith. Penrith is in October, and at the Penrith Lakes there, and both times we'll have Americans out to run it.
Yeah, that's sounding pretty good.
Are you going in? You're getting behind the APBA with their rule change, where sorting the rules out to run underneath them, or
No, the problem we have. Look, I've always been part of the APBA, and I sort it and I do it. The problem we have with the drag boat organisation is the Victorian Drag Boat Club have been broken away from the APBA for a long time.
Yep.
The APBA have sort of not wanted to support drag boat racing in the latter part of the years for whatever reason, and that's okay. There hasn't been a lot. So the new promoter, and he's done a great job, Mark Savage, he was involved with ski racing for a long time. He still is in a little way because they've fallen off, but he's taken on this chore. He's done some unbelievable marketing and push forward. He has secured Penrith Lakes for January, not this one coming, the next one, obviously October and then January. He's secured Lake Eildon. He's got the town. He's got the council behind it. He did have Wagga close, but there's not enough water. So we will run under our own rules.
Yep.
He's built an insurance policy, which he's finalised and done. He's built a set of rules completely based on APBA rules. And everybody will have to abide by the rules that are there.
Yeah.
They'll still be very strict, and they've got to be, but the sanctioning of APBA won't be there.
Yeah. I was just wondering because the APBA is in talks with themselves to get it back, but they just, with people getting behind it, I thought they'd be like that side would push it faster.
I look at 100%. I agree, without a doubt, and the promoter certainly wants to work with APBA and has tried, and I believe there's been discussions. The thing with the event is it's got to go forward.
Yeah, 100%.
And to bring people in that want to get behind it. He's already got Lucas Oil behind it. We've got Corello. We've got a number of sponsors that have jumped in that want to be part of it. And with this new American fraternity that Kevin Von Burgess is doing, that will reinvent drag boat racing in America, which should be great for here. Now, they're already talking about American boats coming out and running with us here, and look, hopefully in time there's alcohol class and circuit class, which is what he wants right the way through. He is putting up a lot of prize money. He's putting up tow money. He's putting up fuel. He's putting up entry money. So it's going to make it reasonably cheap in the sense for you to take your circuit boat or your drag boat to the drags and enjoy it. And he's trying to make events that are 2 or 3 days. That gives everybody time, a bit like Chris Palmer's events. Get set up, make it a weekend with the family, run the boat, show and shine of a night on the Friday night, bands, fun, excitement, and then bang, away we go. Qualifying Saturday, racing Sunday.
Which most big sports do it basically that way.
Every sport that's been successful in the world and long term do it that way. And whether you go to Super Bowl, that starts a week before the Super Bowl with a thing called the Experience, and it takes that event to another level because people go to this experience before. You talk about Chris Palmer's event. It's a 3-day event. People will be getting there on Thursday. They'll be running Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We look at Formula One. It starts 3 or 4 days before. You just keep naming the sports that are succeeding or growing. You know, offshore racing is always 3 days before, 2 or 3.
The F1 outboards are exactly the same. They're there on the Tuesday.
Yeah. You got to make these events better for the town.
Yep.
If the town can make money out of people being there, they want you back. They want the event. If sponsors can see a lot of people and people exposed to their product for a number of days, not 15 minutes on a television or that or so on, they want that as well. And I think that's where we really will see our sport grow if we can get it over a number of days. Small club days, and you see small clubs, sadly, and I've been a member of many of them, are disappearing.
Yeah.
It's costing too much to run the event. It's too hard. You can't get people to give up their time and so on. So you're better off with 3 or 4 big meetings a year where they group and gather and you go and it's 2 or 3 days. Top Fuel Cars in Australia, you'll see the events they have. They have 4 or 5, I think it is, major what they call events.
Yep.
And everybody goes because there's only these 5 events.
Yep.
These smaller events just are becoming cumbersome in the cost to put them on and the labour required to do them.
Yeah, 100%. Which I think has got to go back to have a governing body run the sport, not the clubs, not the states,
Yes.
and then go trickle down from there. So your state is your club, so to speak. And yeah, okay, we'll just do a little bit and run here and there on the smaller scale to let people stepping stone, oh yeah, I like this, we'll keep going. But the large scale, okay, we'll buy a license for
There needs to be
1,000, 2,000.
different levels of the sport.
Yeah,
You need
yeah.
like your professional sort of guys, but then there needs to be another tier for people to just get into the
Similar
sport.
to car racing, where they've got little club cars that you can go around and race your XL and whatnot, and then you've got your supercars. There's all different grades the whole way down, which I think that's where it needs to go.
It has to go that way. Look, clubs and small clubs and so on are wonderful, but as identities to create sponsorship and events, you need the councils, you need the town, you need everyone behind you. I was a member of Canahooka Boat Club for all my life as a young boy and all the way through and raced boats there and so on. Today it doesn't exist. It used to be there. It was a famous course. It was there. I can go down through America and name 30 courses that are gone, that we used to race at Lake Irvine, Puddingstone. A number of them are all gone because, the environment's changed around it. People have built beautiful houses on the water or so on, or the government or the council's not behind it for whatever reason. But the biggest hurdle against clubs now is they don't have enough money to run these events. They rely on people to volunteer, and there are wonderful volunteers, but they can't keep volunteering all the time because they've got their own lives.
You get burnt out.
Yeah, and we're seeing that. Whereas, when it's a professional organisation, a bit like Chris Palmer is running this, everybody that Chris brings into this whole organisation for the Worlds are paid people. The marketing girl, the food people, the venue, the whole thing. It's all in the venue pays for him to bring, we'll use the wrong term, the circus to the event.
Yep.
But what he's proved is he's made it the best circus in the world.
It works, and you've got to pay people to make it run.
100%.
I don't go to work for free.
No, and no one does. And the volunteers in the world, God bless them, firefighters and so on, are unbelievable. But I think our boating world can no longer grow without the likes of a Chris Palmer event now, or the sport events that Rob Pasala does.
Yeah.
Another great operation that Rob's done and brought together. But you don't need to have that every second weekend.
No.
Yeah.
The guys that are racing don't need to try and come up with motor after motor or part after part. If they know that they've got 4, 5, who knows, whatever, good events a year, they'll turn up. They'll run their boat hard. They'll have a great time. They'll bring the family.
5 events over 6 or 7 months. Knock it all out. You build something that lasts the season. Over the season, you rebuild it, refresh everything, come back next season, go do it again.
Yeah, and you simply take the cost of going to an event these days, whether you're driving there, you're towing a boat, you got your parts, you got everything that you have to shell into that, your accommodation and so on. It's not a cheap exercise. And if you're going to try and stump up and do that 10 or 15 times a year...
Yeah, it can't happen.
It's not happening. And then people are falling away and promoters are going, oh, geez, it's not much an event. Look, there's only 5 boats here or 10 boats or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that we need to streamline it down, and I'm not an expert in any way, but as a business person, I would say streamline it into a number of exciting, great events, work with the stronger clubs, the Tarees, the Milduras, or the number of good clubs that are around, and grow that with them where you can get the town behind the event. Because probably the best event I've ever been to in Australia many years ago, and it was always, I think it was the Australia Day weekend, was Taree.
Yep.
It used to be held, and they'd come from Griffith. They'd drive like mad to get up from Griffith to be at Taree for the weekend. We had the streets show and shine, the parade, and the event at Taree was just phenomenal.
Yeah, there was the whole circus along the foreshore there.
Unbelievable.
I remember as a
Unbelievable.
kid walking through all them things. I wasn't there with, Dad was obviously racing, but I was couldn't give a shit about the race. And as a kid, I was always in the park playing on Dodgem cars or whatever was going on.
That's what needs to happen again, because everybody won. You bought an ice cream or Dad got you an ice cream, you're up in the shops.
Yep.
All the shops, all the businesses grow. So the businesses promote it, the sponsors get in, the town's alive, everything comes. And Sydney, here, look how big Sydney is.
Yeah.
We used to have Cabarita, Boat Racing Club, gone. Deepwater, gone. Silverwater, gone.
Yeah.
They're right here,
Yeah.
close to us. And we used to command many boats. I remember when they held the drags at Silverwater, there'd be 80, 90 boats there. It has changed, and unless we change with it,
That's exactly right. A lot of people are stuck in, no, that doesn't work, or
That didn't
this is
work
how we
20
do
years
it.
ago.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't. You got to grow somewhere. You can't just go, no, that doesn't work, or no, I don't want to try that. You just got to go, okay, let's go. Let's try this again, or whatever.
look, whether you like him or hate him, Chris, and he's a friend of mine, so I can say I like him, but, it's taken somebody with that initiative to put on this great event we're all
Yep.
going to go to. Now, somebody had to do that. Someone had to come up with it. We're all racing and we're all doing our own thing, as Chris was,
Yep.
but he put it on the line.
Yeah.
Now, if people say, oh, yeah, but it did it to make money, or he did this or he did that.
Good.
Great. I
Hope he does.
I hope he makes more money than he knows what to do with,
Yeah.
because he'll put another event on.
100%.
Exactly.
And really, we've got to lose the fact of saying, well, this and that. It's not. Somebody has got to put these events on. We've got to support that somebody, whether it's Chris Palmer or whoever it is,
Yeah.
if we want the sport to survive and grow.
If someone wants to put their money on the line like that, they should be supported by everybody in every single way possible.
Without a doubt.
There shouldn't be
Because,
anything negative about that.
Look, all the great promoters in the world make a lot of money. Bernie Ecclestone didn't become worth a billionaire from not making money out of Formula One.
Yeah.
But he was the one who put his neck on the line and ran
Yeah, exactly.
Formula One around the
I can
world.
almost guarantee he got shit on too.
Well, without a doubt he did. He got abused in the early days and told for trying to take the sport over, changing the rules. When towns were not holding the events because the cars were too noisy, and he made them all quiet them down to get it back into big cities. Everybody thought he was mad.
Yeah,
and then
right.
along came Singapore night racing.
Yeah.
Turned Formula One on its ear.
Yeah.
Because the cars they were still noisy, by the way, but they weren't making that noise that was intrusive to the bloke in a hotel or motel that's paid $1,000 or $2,000 for a night and doesn't want to listen to them.
Yeah.
So, look, we need creative people like Chris. The sport is growing. I've never seen it in a better position it is at the moment. The fact that we've got a boat coming from New Zealand to race, and we've got 2 boats out of the United States coming to compete against 20 or 30 Aussie boats, the best we can find. I think that's amazing.
And I think after next year, when this event happens, you could have more come from New Zealand because Ken Lupton's building one.
Yep.
He's building the old Unleashed boat. He's dropped a Jemison selling that. And I think there's a couple more getting done over there as well. So they're building, and they've got enough money to come. Oh, okay, this is a good event. We'll come over too. And just keep. And then in 2 years' time, which is good. I think the 2-year bracket for everyone massive to come is a good time frame. We can sort this out. And in between, over here, you can run the National Drivers' Championship for your 4 meetings a year or 5 meetings a year, whatever that works. And then you just keep growing the sport that way, which 6 litres are coming to that as well.
I think you hit the nail on the head. And that's really what it's about. The National Drivers' Championship is a great event, and it needs to be a selected number of events throughout the year.
Yep.
That sponsors get the TV and they get the promotion. They know the event's good, the town's behind it. You can then have, let's call it the Chris Palmer World events every 2 years or whatever it may be, and have the influx of other countries or other nations coming in and doing it. Once you get sponsors into it, the cost and the help to get these boats across from the other countries,
it skyrockets.
and it unfolds. And that's what you need, and that's where it is. But it's really, we just have to change the mentality of what people believe boat racing is. And that's the hardest thing, I think, that we've got to take it. It's no longer just a a mug sport. It's a very professional sport now.
With mugs
capsules, motors. I'm a mug with mugs. But what I'm saying is, if we can lift the image, because the boats have lifted to an image where they're magnificent.
Yeah.
So
Spectacular looking race boats.
magnificent. It's the best in the world.
Yeah.
And the gear in the back, you look in and it's outstanding. So what we need to do is bring the rest of the event,
Yeah.
and saying that in the right way. The rest of the event needs to step up to the level the boats have stepped up to, And with the minute that does, people walk in and they go, geez, how professionals. Have a look at this. How good's this? The food. Instead of just being able to get a old bloody sausage in a roll,
Yeah.
you can go and have a sit down and have a steak sandwich with your wife or the kids,
Yep.
or you can have a marquee tent with call it a VIP, which they're doing quite well. But I think if we can improve those parts of the event, lovely air conditioned tents where people can get out of the heat, because a number of times, and we're going to see this in Mildura, these events are being held in terribly, terribly hot conditions, which knocks the life out of most people after one day, or a family don't want to come back.
Yeah.
So,
For 3 days.
yeah, and we've got to pick the events and the days and the weather now that work for the whole sport,
Yep.
but also work for the spectator. And I hark back to Formula One because I follow it closely. Las Vegas is held in the middle of the night, the race. This is too hot.
Yeah.
Good reason, yeah.
Yeah, but they hold it in the middle of the night. Who would have thought that'd work?
Yeah.
But it does.
Yeah.
So we're the same with boat racing. Not to say you want one in the middle of winter when it's cold and freezing, but we may need to start utilising some cooler months.
Spring and autumn are
Yeah.
just perfect for going.
100%, and make it more pleasant for our spectator, because spectators bring money
Yeah.
brings sponsors bring
Yeah.
teams.
In saying that, like we were saying with the family thing, they need to have most wives and that. Most of them don't really care for the boat racing, and they go. But if you have a fair going on with market stalls and merry-go-rounds, Ferris wheels, or whatever you want, the kids are entertained to the hills, and they can do whatever they want to do, and it's a family affair. They're over there doing that, but we're over here watching boats. Like,
And they'll be happy to come. They might
Yeah.
come for 3 days, but they'll be happy to come for a day. They'll be happy to partake.
Yeah.
But you've got to put it on for everyone.
Yeah.
Look, if we say boat racing, it's for blokes, and once the race is over, there's not much else to do.
yeah,
And if half the boats have issues or problems, it becomes very boring. Everybody wants to go home.
Yeah.
So unless we really line up how we entertain the people in the other areas, we've got the boats, we've got the fast boats, we've got the guys that want to run them, Hayden, yourself, and plenty of people. So we've got that part of the cake done. What we need now is the family side of it, the children, the venue, the entertainment, because that is really what makes this thing whole. If you go to Formula One on again harking back on the Friday and Saturday night, they have bands playing. At Singapore just recently, they had Elton John there.
Yeah.
After the event, the race finished, and everyone ran over to the huge stadium to watch Elton John play.
Yeah.
Now I know that's another level, but the sport itself knows
you can grow.
You got to start somewhere.
well, they've got more money and more people following the sport than anybody can imagine. But they know that they've got to bring an Elton John or a Lady Gaga or somebody there
Yep.
for it. We have the same situation with this sport, and we need to involve other clubs, hot rod clubs, associations that need us as well.
Yeah,
Too many times you think, well, we need them, but in real terms, hot rod clubs that bring families. I always say, and the sponsor that we have now with the drag boats, he's heavily into the variety club for children.
Oh, yeah.
And he's bringing the variety club to all the drag boat events. They're getting a part of the gate take, and he's helping children.
yep,
Now,
That gets people behind the event, doesn't it?
yes. And he believes in it. If he didn't believe in it, well, he wouldn't do it, but he believes in it. So all of a sudden, Mum thinks it's worthwhile to take the kids there because he helps other
helping.
children through school via the Variety Club. And I think that's fantastic. And I think that if our sport can do more of that to assist wherever it is, whether it's the Children's Hospital of Sydney or Melbourne or wherever. I think that we've got to bring a better image to the sport than just a heap of guys turning up ready to run their boat and then go home at the end of the day.
Yeah, rev out thing. Bit like it's probably the wrong way to say it, but it's like a bit like summer nats.
Yeah.
It's a blokey bloke thing, and that's it.
And you look at that in Canberra. I mean, that started as a small event with cars, the Canberra Summer Nats, and I believe last year they turned over $40 million.
Yeah, right. Wow.
So it can, what do they say? A snowflake causes an avalanche.
Yeah.
The gate take to get into Summer Nats alone turned 27 million or something.
Wow.
So you sort of think, where did that come from? Now that's just the gate take for the event. What about the hotels and the food
what
and
it
the
brings to the
town
town,
and Canberra and all that? And the government are right behind that because they know what it does.
Yeah.
That's right. That's how we get the government behind local events, because the government sees that, say, like a Windsor event or the Mildura event, the council gets behind it because they know that when they support that event happening, that then just brings a whole heap of people coming in. And then every motel, every restaurant, all the shopping centres, they're all chockers because everyone's got to eat, everyone's got to sleep, everyone's got to be in fuel stations even.
100%.
Everything gets supported.
Country towns are dying. Let's not kid ourselves.
massively.
They're dying. If they can have an event once a year, it used to be rodeo in Australia, but that's sort of been a little bit shone upon by greenies and everybody and so on, animal welfare and so on. But if they can have an event once a year that they make a master event for the town, as we said, show and shine, displays in the street, the butcher selling his sausages to the people for barbecues, the snack bar selling milkshakes to the kids, that gets the whole town behind it. And it saves a lot of towns. The pub sells all the beer it can possibly sell on that weekend. So I think our sport needs to go to the town, not expect the people to come to us. And I think that's a big thing. Rob Parsala's got a great following and a great thing, but he needs to pick his sport up and it needs to go to the people that need it.
Yeah.
The spectators that love the sport will come.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if the
100%.
town supports it, the media will follow it and it'll be on television anyway.
Yeah.
So if I like watching the event, the Battery World event, it'll be on the television and I'm sitting here in this lounge room in Windsor. If I'm in a country town, I'm not going to get exposed to it. It's not going to help. I'll go to the event and I'll make it work. And if they happen to put on a band of an evening, people all stay for the band and they'll drink and be merry. And we have to become the travelling road show, very similar to 100%. What Formula One's done. They've done it in a much bigger way. But Bernie Ecclestone took it from a very limited amount of venues to a venue in major cities around the world because they paid to have it.
Yeah.
They wanted it there.
Yeah.
You don't think he flew everybody to Melbourne because Melbourne didn't want it. Melbourne fought to get it off Adelaide to make this event happen. So if you can get a town to take the Battery World team or the new drag boat club of Mark Savage to a town like we had with Wagga, and Wagga were right behind it, don't get me wrong there, very supportive, but there was just a water issue, and nobody thought into that the water was going to evaporate in the drought in summer, so it was probably a bit naive of the promoter to think that they'd have water in April, but it may make a liar of him and they may have it, but our whole sport is built around people. We just need to take it to the people, not expect the people to come to us anymore.
Yep.
You need businessmen running the sport.
Or people that understand business.
But will understand business and
how
how stuff works and how to make money.
Or people that don't
thing.
need to survive on it.
Yeah, all that, yeah.
And because, look, the sport is generated heavily by people like Hayden and guys, Chris Palmer and so on, but they pour a lot of money into the product they're bringing to the event. We need the people running the event to make a lot of money to pour it into the people with the product.
Yep.
So instead of saying, We want you to turn up with your $200,000 circuit boat. We want you to race all weekend and flog it to death. We'd like you to bring people as well, and we'd like you to take a motel, and we'd like you to do that. And by the way, we're going to charge you $500 to do that.
Yeah. Gets really expensive.
The bloke says, hang on, aren't I the draw?
Yeah.
Shouldn't you be giving me $500 and the rooms and the methanol and the petrol and everything to come?
Yep.
That's where the shift is, and that's the great thing that Mark Savage, the promoter of the drags, is doing. He's not asking you to pay anything. He's giving you your methanol.
Sounds like I'm going drag boat racing.
Sounds like it. Well, he's going to have a class for the circuit boats, so it'll be good when you're there. But they've got 8 blown alcohol hydros that will attend. They've got displacement boats. There's not many blown alcohol flats left in the country, but they'll want every displacement boat in that class. Now, you'll turn up at that event. He'll say, there's your methanol. There's your entry fees. You're done. And by the way, there's your tow money for coming. And have a great weekend. That is where it's got to go. You
100%.
know, you look at any team in the world, they spend a lot of money to get there,
Yeah.
but they don't necessarily pay to be at the event, or sponsors pick it all up. And that's what we've got to have. Sponsors should pick up the motels in Mildura for every boat racer, so he's got a motel room instead of him having to pay $3,000 for the weekend for motel rooms. You know, and this is not a criticism of the sport or wherever, but as a businessman, the position of the sport needs to attract boats. It needs to make it easier and more helpful for boats to get there.
Yep.
And cost effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you are the reason people are coming.
Well, people
You
mortgage
should have
their
to
home.
pay. I'm the show. I shouldn't have to pay for the show for the people.
The clown never paid to go to the circus.
Yeah.
So
that's a good analogy.
that's why I'm getting excited about you're saying Mark Savage. As far as I knew, you were fairly behind it as well. The new drag boat promotion in Australia, and you guys are going to be pushing a lot of the Yanks to come over here as well.
Yep.
Some of the Kiwis to come over here. Is that going to be cross promoted or cross integrated? So we'll have a couple of the Australian drivers going over to America as well.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to campaign I am with John in America. We're going to campaign what we call a nostalgia top fuel hydro. Gary Kincaid's going to put it together. Kevin Kinsley's going to drive it, and we'll have that in the States. But that's what we call a low budget boat, and that's going to be where the class is: 30-gallon fuel pumps, single mag, 671 blower. The thing will run down the course all day long, still do its 200 mile an hour, bang and pop and make all the noise, and the crowd will love it. So we're going to partake in that, and we'll go backwards and forwards. But the promoter is really hoping to link up with Kevin Von Burgess and the new organisation in America. He's already had talks, and they've indicated, let us get on top of everything in America, and then we want to come to Australia. We want to get involved in this with you. Mark's whole thrive has become from ski racing. As I said, that's where his background is from. He does promotional clothing and so on, so it's a big thing for him in promotional uniforms and so on.
That's
but
the Savage Force.
Yes,
business,
Savage Force business. And Savage Force business has now decided to take a challenge and take on drag boats, knowing that the involvement was changing in America and what was happening. He saw a window of opportunity, and when he did ask me, and he came to me and we sat down and he said, Craig, do you think this can work? And he said, look, I'm ski racing's finished due to unfortunate accidents and so on. I said, Mark, it can work. But I said, we just reiterated earlier, I said, you cannot expect someone to build a $200,000 boat and then hit them with every other cost in the world to get to that event, and then say to them, we want you to scramble down here, try and do it all in one day, and then go back home after they've driven 12 hours down and 12 hours back. Yeah. And this has been a big hurdle for the drag boat sport. Victorian Drag Boat Club has been a great club many years, and I love it. I've raced there often. They're limited to one day, being a Sunday, to run due to other restrictions with rowing and everything in the club. We can't... You just can't possibly do it. If you talk about a fuel boat, for instance, by the time you do one pass, that's one engine. It's got to come out. You've got to put another engine in.
Yep.
you do another pass, you've got to put another engine in, or you've got to rebuild the one in the pits while you're doing it. You need the day. So Saturday you do a qualifying pass, you come back, that motor comes out, the boys start working on that, they put a new motor in ready for the Sunday, you run on the Sunday morning, and then the motor that you've rebuilt from yesterday goes in and you run again.
Yep.
And that's a bit like top fuel cars here and so on. That's being probably a one-sided greedy situation because fuel boats need that. But guys who run top alcohol hydros or good circuit boats, they still need to get a feel for the course. They need to get a few runs under their belt. You can't expect them to drive, 12 hours, arrive on the Sunday morning and say, all right, here we go out, run, dump down. And then at the end of the day, now drive home. And by the way, you've got to be back for work in the morning at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So and that was what I said to Mark. I said, they must be 3-day events. They must be events that don't clash with people's lifestyle and weekends or other boat events. And I said, that's not an easy one to pick. But I said, if you can make it a social event, I've got time to get there. I don't mind taking a few days off work because it's a nice weekend away and I'll get a good chance of running. And I'm going to get tow money and I'm going to get accommodation money and I'm going to get so on. So he's thought about it. He's budgeted. And as I said, he's got Lucas Oil under his wing and a number of others that I can't discuss yet, but they'll all come out.
Yep.
But it's exciting because he is going to involve the towns. And as I said,
that's what it needs
the
to.
Charities and the people and the Variety Club will have a big display there. And everybody will win. And the more we can help others win, the more they'll make the event better.
Yep.
That'll be exciting to see a new show coming around.
I think it'll be exciting for the whole sport. And there's some very fast circuit boats out there, as you know, that can probably run the 150 mile an hour down the quarter mile. People will love to see that as well. And in the end, it's still racing, whether it's straight line racing, but if you're drag racing against another boat that's pretty close to you in a circuit race, you're still racing. Yeah. And if you know at the end of the day, and I know class prize, Mark's looking at $5,000 prize money for the classes for the event for the weekend, and there's second and third prize money. We're hoping to have $10,000 prize money on the table for the fuel boats. So there'll be good prize money. And it'll run down through the classes as well as tow money, travel money, and everything else that Mark can pull together. So Penrith is going to be exciting, October, and hopefully we'll have a couple of American boats here as well. That's his plan.
Yeah, right. That's cool.
I'm keen to see some top fuel boats run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've spoken.
100% be going there.
I've spoken to Mick about the Penrith event. Me and him are planning on taking our boats down there to have a go at it.
We can do a heads up match, just me and you.
Yeah.
Well, we'd like to think that, and we will be pushing to get a number of circuit boats. Brett Shepherd's been a big supporter of the drags over the years, and he's always turned up to Victoria, and even when we held them with DBRA here in Sydney, Brett would always turn up. But we would like to think that we will probably have 10 or 12 blown circuit boats.
I think you could.
That will turn easily up, and the prize money will be there for them. There'll be $5,000 or more, pending at the time, and the sponsors on the table. There'll be second and third prizes, and it's about obviously the support for the event from the boats that brings the crowd and brings the sponsors, that brings the gate take, that brings the money to pay the bills and reward everybody that turns up. But we think Penrith, with where it's positioned and the way it's being put together, and by that time the American organisation hopefully will be somewhat more involved with Mark and Savage Promotions. So we look as though it will come off as a pretty good event at this stage.
Yeah, so it definitely sounds good.
Yeah, it's a cracking venue. Absolutely excellent venue.
I've been to the drags when they run them here at Windsor a long, long time ago. The old man run his little 6-litre boat there. He won the day with a circuit boat, and in whatever class it was in. I don't know what class it was. That was actually the day your Thunder Down Under sunk. Yeah.
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 The first day it ever went on the water.
I was there that day.
It's not a preferred thing to happen.
No, it wasn't much fun. I can tell you, we brought it out from the States and it was already in the Americans. We had Jim Prosciutto at that time and Rodney Matson, a good mate of mine who was driving it. Yes, unfortunately it sunk, and that was the end of the weekend. So that was a very expensive memory. And we found out then with Gary Kincaid's help that there was something wrong with the dehydral in the sponsons. So, look, it was a good time to pack it up and send it back to America, which we did. And Gary Kincaid worked on it, fixed the sponsons, and we went to Arizona and it ran 205 mile an hour off the trailer, and it went on to run further on from there.
Yeah, nice.
So it was exciting from a bad situation became an exciting situation because I never had plans to campaign an alcohol boat in America, but because it went back for Gary to fix after the sinking, and it gave us the opportunity to
test it while it's here.
Yeah, Tommy Thompson in America, who ran most of the best boats in the States, supported me tremendously, gave me a trailer to use, and was fantastic. And we travelled the States. We ran everywhere, and quite a few Aussies came over and helped us at the time. Stan Tyndall was running there with his boat Jasper, and Peter Bennett was running Dad's Toy. 2 Aussies going really well, campaigning, and it was exciting. We had a great time,
Gary Kincaid certainly sounds like an all-rounder. Can drive, can build an engine, can fix a boat. What else has he done?
Well,
can he cook?
I don't think he's much of a cook, let me tell you. And he lost a leg many years ago, and he's not much good at running anymore. But look, I would.
That's one up I've got on him.
I would say to you, he's probably, and I've met quite a few, one of the best engine builders in the world. And I say that because he knows what a camshaft needs to do in an engine, and that is the greatest feat of all.
Yep.
Understanding exactly what a camshaft will do is where he resolves a number of problems, and he wouldn't mind me saying it. He does desert cars, he's done top fuel motors, he's done alcohol motors, he's done endurance motors, he's done them all, and he's had a lot of success. But for me, he's managed to extract more horsepower than anyone can imagine in the big stuff boat. Now he's turned the motors into enormous engines by way of camshaft technology and how the cam works with
Make
the fuel
the top
system.
end happy, and it all just follows.
Yeah. And I'm sure he doesn't tell me every trick he's got in the book. I wish he would, but he just seems to understand what it needs. I mean, still today, he takes the sump off after the day and has a look at the bearings and tunes the day boat off the bearings, not off the spark plugs.
Wow.
And
That's incredible.
yeah, he won't. If you aren't prepared to lift the motor out and take the sump off,
Pack her up.
back her up. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And that is an art in itself, knowing what the motor wants via the bearings. I mean, he'll still look at a spark plug in reality, but his real passion is what's happening at the bottom.
Yeah. Right.
That was my first experience at the drags with him. We'd had a wonderful day on Saturday. The boat had gone well, and everybody's ready to Aussie way have some drinks and relax. Saturday night, ready. No, get that motor out. And it was a bit like the same with Ron Braxmer. I was sitting with Ron Braxmer with Madness in the Arizona with the World Finals, and Ron said, she's all ready, all brand new. I said, it looks good, Ron, everything's great. Yeah, we're all ready. Anyway, rightio, boys, warm her up. So the boys get her all ready, and they light this Madness boat up, and next thing it starts huffing a bit of fuel out of a couple of cylinders, like I thought all top fuelers do that. Right. Next thing, Ron just waves his hand, and the bloke turns her off, and I thought, I said, what happens, Ron? Pull that motor out. I said, well, she's brand new. We just started 30. Pull it out. Anyway, they got the motor out, and they pull the pistons and rods out, and Ron comes over, and he's got a new rack of pistons and rods, and he sits the rack of pistons and rods on the bench, and they got all the other pistons and rods on a rack, and he walks over with them to the garbage bin and tips them in the trash can.
Oh, shit.
And I looked, I said, hang on.
I'll
have
them
those. Ronnie said, no, they're trash. It loaded it up. He said, they're no good. They had it. And I'll never forget, I watched it go in the trash bin, and of course then he'd warm up on a brand new blower belt. So hence I had things in my suitcases coming home from America, like you couldn't believe. But at the end of the weekend, there was so much stuff in that trash can I couldn't carry it. But another man that the engine had to come out, and he had to look at the bearings, and Ron goes without saying how successful he was. But again, he would look at that bottom end. So it seems to be very important to them. I'm not a tune-up guy, so I can't.
Yeah.
It is crazy when you say that Ron just upended the rack of pistons and rods.
Brand new.
So, yes, I agree, they're probably stuffed, right? But my way of sort of promoting our sport is giving away our throwaway stuff. So we went to Bundaberg, we had a backfire on the engine on the trailer.
Yep.
So we pulled the blower belt off. Instead of chucking the blower belt in the bin, we went and put it in a raffle. Right?
Yep.
That was my little brother Bretton's idea. That was a big thing up there. Because it's like, holy shit, this is a blower belt. We don't really see it very often. For us, it was just trash. So those rods and pistons could have just been every kid that comes up and asks for a signature or something like that. Give it a wash up, yeah, of course. But
You see that at like the car drags here. I've got one of Darren Morgan's pistons at home. Obviously, it's no good for anything, but it's just got his autograph engraved on the top, and it
It's
just
just cool.
sits on the bench in my shed.
Well, Santos Racing do the same.
Yeah.
You see the pistons and rods and look, quite a lot of people in America, you'll see them make things out of a conrod, and I agree. It was just such an obsessive time then. Ron had big sponsors, and money was no object.
Yeah.
But they were probably good enough for anybody else to rerun.
Second tier thing, yeah.
In their own mind.
Yeah.
But in Ron's mind, they were junk.
Yeah.
And, it was a blatant waste of what I thought was good parts, know.
Yeah.
But it was just this eye-opener to me, and I couldn't believe it. We'd warm up on a blower belt, he'd throw the blower belt in the garbage, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
put a brand new one on to run with, you'd come back.
Yeah.
They'd
Yeah.
warm up on that blower belt, they'd throw it in the garbage.
The people that do that kind of stuff, though, they're very, very successful because they leave nothing to chance.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And Ron said a blower belt can cost me a race and it can cost me an engine. He said, how much does a blower belt cost?
Yeah.
And I said, in your case, nothing because you're sponsored. He said, that's right. Keep
Yeah.
putting them on. But there'd be 50 blower belts in the trailer.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
it didn't matter. There was not even a thought. And mind you, there was a lot of races there. Gary, when he raced Top Fuel, never had a lot of money. So Gary always raced on a budget, but he was very successful as well. So I think that's where Gary learnt so much about engines. It was the fact that he had to race on a budget. He didn't have a lot of money. He won top alcohol before capsule boats came in, and he ran the top speed. He then, when capsule boat went in the alcohol boat, Top Gun, he won that again and topped the speed. And then when he went into Top Fuel, he did that and topped the speed.
Yep.
So there's a man with not a big budget, but great knowledge about building engines and knowing what really needs to happen within that engine, and I think that's an art. It's a gift as well.
Yeah. and
Yep.
When you're running with limited money, you learn what you need to do and how you need to do it to get away with little bits and pieces without hurting gear all the time as well.
100%. Yeah. Look, and it's you say everybody can do it with money, with lots of money. Well, you can't either unless you've got the knowledge building it. You can have all the money in the world, you still
100%.
won't win.
Yep.
You've got to surround yourself with the right people. And as I said earlier, I've been very lucky with my racing, with the people that I've had. Along the way, I've achieved a lot with doing very little.
Yeah.
In the sense of what I do, I'm
Yeah,
great
yeah,
at
right.
polishing the boat,
Yeah.
keeping it nice looking, but that's about it.
Yep.
So we'll jump across to the Mr. Big Stuff boat that you've jumped into.
Yep.
So you're part owner in that?
John and I have been mates for a long time, and how it came about was John was running the boat, as you know, and Gordy Jennings was working on it, and I met John many years ago by chance, and then I bought a K boat off John that was a race boat of his, and Sean Fastener was a driver, and Sean passed away with cancer. John used to take him everywhere to the races. John then had not Duff Daly,
Greg Duff.
drive, and Greg crashed and was killed, or Greg got killed, whatever happened on the turn. Again, another boat of John's Dark Horse Racing. So John was not in a terribly good place. He had a nice blown K boat, which they were running around. And he said, Craig, this boat thing, he said, I love it. We've been doing it all our life. And John was a driver many years ago back in the Long Beach days. He'd sit on the bank with his gear and hope to get a ride. Any new boat that came out that no one could drive, they'd put John in.
Yeah, right.
Because he was as brave as a meat axe, So he said, I built this Mr. Big Stuff. We were talking as he was building it and what he was going through and different things that I suggested he should do to the boat, which he did. But they couldn't keep engines together. And that was sort of basically when I got involved at a level where owning and discussing and talking became a more realistic thing. And that's when I got Gary involved. Mm-hmm. We took the motors off Gordy Jennings and gave them to Gary Kincaid. And I said to Gary, either you do it or I'm not doing it. John and Laurie, his lovely wife who supports him with all this, with Boot Barn, she went and met Gary, and their first impressions was, he's a bit scary. He's a bit scary, this bloke, but he's a gentle giant, And anyway, cut a long story short, he and John got on really well. So we said, okay, we'll do it. And that's when we decided to campaign the boat in America. And John always wanted to come here and race it. He came out to the Worlds when they were here at Windsor with Laurie. And they were very keen to come the following year. That got cancelled. Chris cancelled it due to different circumstances and so on. So we kept running the boat in America, getting rid of the problems. There was a lot of bugs, a lot of engine issues, a lot of stuff that we resolved. The boat was fast, but it was not quite right. So we spent that time getting it to a point where it could be fast. Yeah. And he won the World Series or the American Series over there with it. And that was when he said, all right, I think it's ready to come to Australia. It's going to be fast enough or capable of being competitive, Because the Americans are well and truly, in the mind factor that the Australian boats are fast, the racing's hard, and you need to be on your game. And Duff Daly certainly isn't coming to a gunfight with a knife this time. No. He knows what he's got to do, and Stock has built new engines. And they're going to come ready to play. We're no different. We know what we're up against, and John certainly, being an ex-driver, knows. So, look, the boat, I believe, will be very competitive. Our main aim is we think it'll be very reliable, and that's, as I've said to John always, more races are won with
100%.
Reliability.
Yep.
To win first, you have to finish.
Yep.
It was actually amazing seeing when the Americans come out last year. Last time, was that 2019? They actually went through quite a couple of engines. I think they destroyed 2 engines at Windsor and then went down and destroyed another one in Derry. Is that something that there's been learnings from that? Obviously, something's changed from the American atmosphere to air to the Australian air. Is that
one big problem? Without knocking anybody, 25 years ago we ran copperhead gaskets and O-ringed them with the 671 blower and so on. Certain engine builders in America believe that blue Teflon gasket, because it's rated to go to 30 psi or whatever, will work.
Yeah,
they won't.
Yeah.
And the first thing we did with Mr. Big Stuff's motors was tear those out, put O-rings in it, put copperhead gaskets in it.
Yep.
Go to what works.
Which works. And we've never blown a head gasket since.
Yep.
The thing was throwing head gaskets out of it faster than it could get round the track. And look, it's all right. People say, oh, yeah, but they're rated to do that and so on. And that's all okay. It's rated to do that. But if the boat flies out of the water and you have an over rev and all of a sudden the blower makes 32 pounds boost, You've gone over what the gasket's rated to do.
Yeah.
That can happen.
Yep.
Now, how are you going to stop that? You can't. Look, I believe, great engine builders in the States and guys that have done it for a long time have all got copperhead gaskets in there with O-rings and receiver grooves. Some guys think you can put an O-ring without a receiver groove. You'll get away with it for a while, but really, that I feel, and I don't know, Mike Stock will probably tell you differently, but from what I observed and what I saw, that was always the problem. When Duff Daly first come, and I was involved at that time with Paul Medill a little bit, and Paul helped them with the first engine over at his place. When they pulled the heads off, it had blown those blue Felpro head gaskets out of it.
Yep.
That was the first boat Duff ever came with. So they didn't learn from the first time. They didn't learn from the second time. I'm sure this time round they've learned.
Yep.
But, yes, there's atmosphere differences. Yes, there's a slight tune-up change in Australia. And
anyone good enough will get on top of that really easy.
I would expect so, but
100%.
I was quite surprised. I didn't know it was blowing head gaskets out. I thought it was tune-up that they were struggling with.
head gaskets.
Yeah. Okay,
It was firing head gaskets out it faster than they could keep them on it. And of course, when you do that, you can torch your head or you
still
burn.
do a fair bit of damage.
Yeah. If you're lucky enough that it just pushes a gasket out, you go again. You're right, but that was the real crux of the problem. They also came into Windsor when it was a dreadfully hot day that first day. War Eagle and the other one ran, and you're tight on heat and air and so on, and I think it probably caught them on the hop a bit. And yes, you say a good engine builder will get on top of that. They will, but a smart tuner is not always used to those conditions, and they start grappling at other issues or problems that aren't there. But look, I think this time they will come far more prepared.
Yeah, I think so.
In that case.
But same with the tuner stuff. A lot of people, when you got bad air, were hot and shit, and a lot of people still chase a tune, but there's no point because you got no air to do anything with. So you're better off leaving it a bit.
Look, one of the
heavy
biggest
in the mix, and away you go.
One of the biggest issues I see with a lot of boats are, they've got screw blowers on them, PSIs and Whipples, and they're fast, don't get me wrong, but they were not designed ever to be circuit blowers. They work, of course, these guys in Australia have made them work, and it's a credit to see how good they've made them work. But those sort of blowers are very unforgiving on air change because they're built to do a quarter mile as a drag blower.
Yep.
Norm Drazy invented PSIs, but he invented 3 different types. He did do one for ski race boats, which are ideal, but they're nothing like the C or the D PSI that the guys are running today or the latest ones.
Yep.
But, that they're the things that can get away on you. The root style blower that we run, or, high helix blowers that we run, the newer ones don't make heat like the old blowers. They've changed that a lot. But they're also a lot more efficient than they were in the old days. So they're a little bit more forgiving today, whereas a Whipple and a PSI are basically just a big compressor that's on the top. The more you turn it, the more it makes. It doesn't ever give up.
Yep.
And that's what they're designed. And you've probably, I don't know whether you've seen the new Whipple that actually looks like a 1471 polished blower, but it's got the Whipple rotors in it. That's going to be a game changer because that's of Roots design, and it just looks like a Roots blower, but it's got the Whipple rotors in it, and Whipple have brought it out to take on the PSI world again, and that will be an absolute. I think a game changer. I think it'll be far better blower.
Michael runs a PSI on his.
Yeah.
It's only a B though, so it's like the ski racing deal
100%.
side. I've got a fair window with tune up.
And that's what they were built for, Michael. I spent a lot of time in the old days with Norm Drazy in the early days, and he actually spent a little bit of time with me when he came here to Australia to the drags. He's passed away since, and sadly he lost a little bit of his faculties. But I learned a lot off him with PSIs, and there was a lot to do with barrel valves and scrolls in the barrel valves and things and so on. That was really eye opening, But he just said a C and a D blower. Well, the C was outlawed, as you know, by the drag fraternity because it just made too much boost.
Yep.
We ran it on the drag boat. We ran the C for a number of years, and it was enormous. We ran a D as well, but there's a lot of technology has to go into that blower. But the biggest problem is they are just unforgiving if there's a mistake.
They're also quite heavy.
They're very heavy, yeah. Well, the big Whipple's as heavy as... That's why the new Whipple will be unbelievable, but they're going to be priced like the PSI. I think they're about $40,000 US,
Yeah.
for a blower.
That's my engine.
In many cases, yes, it is. But they've had to come up with technology. Whipple, it's an enormous company today because, as you know, they put them on cars in America and cars. So it's a huge company. But for them to get back into the racing world and come up with this new blower, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I've seen the prototypes. They look really, really amazing. The PRI show at Vegas has got one on display at the moment. You'll see it there. If you have a look on that show, you'll see the new Whipple, and it's going to be pretty exciting. But, look, I think that's where the motors have got terribly exotic, and they take a lot of money to keep going.
Yeah,
the minute you get into that field.
100%.
They just,
everything's, once you're up there, it does cost a lot of money.
everything starts to change. The valve material you use, the type of cylinder head you use, everything starts to change. And bearing detonation is one of the biggest problems that these blowers have. But if you can get your success there, and the air temperature and air density doesn't change too radically, you're all right.
You think like the Whipples and the PSIs are exotic, and then you got turbos on top of that.
Well,
that's a whole different ball game altogether.
Look, and you see, there's no better campaigner than the man we see now. With a Noonan and turbos on there and all that. I mean, it's an absolute credit to the Constable family. Rob, I've had the pleasure of meeting him, and I admire what he's pioneering and doing, because no one's been able to successfully make a Hemi work in circle racing. Brad Anderson built them years ago and couldn't make them work. Keith Black tried. Hopefully Noonan will be able to, and hopefully the Noonan will work. But certainly, Rob, you've got to take your hat off to him.
There's no lack of effort with those boys.
They have come a long way since, I don't remember when they first put it in, and they had a lot of issues straight up, and then at Taree, I was up there, and they were pretty good. I think they still had a couple of little issues, but they're definitely leagues in front of where they started from.
Yeah, and there was no template to work from.
Yeah.
They had to start from scratch and work out how much fuel a Noonan may or might not need, or how much or what it'll do, and where it'll have, no go and so. But look, Noonan, I mean, that's another story in itself. An Aussie boy from Queensland, done very well, gone to the States and taken on the likes of Brad Anderson and Alan Johnson. And all of a sudden, in the world of racing, America building, as many, if not, the best engines in the world now. So that's a great accolade. And you've got another circuit race boat being built, I believe, and he's got a Noonan with a PSI on it. And that'll be very competitive as well. He's out of the Sainty camp. But that should be exciting too.
That will be very,
and he'll obviously talk to Rob and
yes, 100%,
and iron out some of the bugs that poor old Rob's had to experiment with and find out himself. But look, it'd be wonderful to see a Hemi dominate in the circuit racing.
That'd be shit for us.
Make no mistake,
buy a Hemi.
I'd much prefer, I like the Superchargers, but I'd much prefer a couple of turbos.
Yeah, look, there's nothing wrong with turbos as long as you know how to use them. Gary Kincaid worked on an alcohol turbo hydro in America, and it still holds the top speed ever of an alcohol hydro over the quarter mile.
Yep.
The turbos were like something off a Kenworth truck, though.
Yeah,
They were
Yeah,
that big.
yeah.
But it ran, it was called a Lucas Oil boat. It was sponsored by Lucas Oil. And it was phenomenal. But Gary said it was inconsistent. And he said that's the only downfall that the turbos had, because he said they were terribly weather related. And unless you caught the weather just right, you'd run 120 mile an hour, 260 mile an hour, 220 mile, and you wouldn't understand why. You know,
That's the big benefit we've got of like electronic fuel injection.
Yeah, 100%.
There's actually things these days you can buy, like a CAN bus weather station that you can actually like hook to your boat. It hooks to your ECU via CAN bus, and it'll measure the weather every millisecond of your pass.
Yep.
And it'll tune it as the weather changes. Like if it's different from one end of the track to the other, it'll change it on the fly.
And they're the things that technology's bringing, which we didn't need that in the old days because we weren't that fine, a definition of tune-up. But today, that makes a difference between win and lose.
You're completely running on the edge now every time.
100%. And, look, how many boats had a computer in the old days? No,
Put a mag in it and away you
Everyone was
go.
scared of it.
I went to America and they said, well, you got to buy, I didn't have a computer, didn't know what it was. They said, you got to buy a race pack computer and put it in this boat. I said, what? And it was just like another world. But it's got to that point now with you guys are going so fast and the boats are running so hard, you need that info.
Yeah.
You need to come in and be able to pull that info up and have a look at it. Gone are the days of just looking at a spark plug and guessing and say, I think I'll 5 here, 5 there, or do this. The computer is right on the money, and I don't think you can be at the top of the tree today without a really
Any kind
good
of data.
computer data.
You need some kind of data.
No.
We can see what it's doing from the line all the way up to when you back off to this corner.
Yep.
So if you are getting lean spots through there, you can catch it before it's a problem.
Do you watch that, do you?
I'm not watching it on the computer, stuff that, but Josh does when we get back to the ramp.
The only trouble with a computer, and look, some people fall into the trap and it outsmarts them. Because
you're
as
right.
much
You
as you've got a
back to
computer,
basics.
you've still got to put some human input into
All of it.
that decision.
All of
and
it's
and
still
some
that.
guys will say, "Oh no, the computer's saying I've got to put 5,000 fuel there, and I've got to do." Sometimes you've got to put that
You've still
human
got to-
intervention.
You've still got to pull a spark plug out and have a look to make sure that you know what's going
And
on.
I'm going through shitloads of spark plugs, and everyone goes, "Well, there's nothing wrong with them." Well, yeah, but they're useless to me. Like, you've got to replace those plugs every run. At least replace a couple.
Fuck, you're kidding, are you?
Well, we never run without putting.
Yeah, we're throwing them
we
out.
put a new set
Wow.
of plugs in every pass, and that's you read the plugs not by the plug itself. See, a lot of people want to think that you understand reading the internals of a plug. You do to a point, but you've got to read the threads.
Yeah.
It's got to
Threads is
travel
where the
down the
information
threads,
is.
and that's where you read what's really happening. Colour change on a plug can be a number of issues, and you can look at those issues, but how much heat's running down and how much CAD's coming off the thread is where you're really starting to sort of understand what the motor's doing.
Yep.
And then obviously, you read the computer and it talks to you back as well on that sense. But I'm not an engine tuner and I don't profess to be. I just listen and hopefully learn a little bit. But there's a lot in that area and field that I think unless you've done a lot of it, spent a lot of time with it, it's very hard to try and say, I'm going to catch that in the next 4 or 5 races, and that's a little edge that the Americans should have over us. I'm not saying they do, because they do so much racing.
Yeah.
They're out every second weekend doing
Yeah.
something.
Yep.
They should have so much knowledge on that level over and above us. It's not funny. We've had to sort of pioneer our way in Australia with not a lot of help in the sense, because most of the guys you talk to in America, unless you've got a really good rapport, they won't ever give you the right information.
Yep.
Yeah.
They'll tell you something, but it won't be
With the
right.
bum steer.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Massive, yeah.
I remember a really good sticker. I think it was on Paul Medill's boat, actually. I think
Yeah.
Child's Play said to put on there all the all the parts are bought in America or built in America and perfected in Australia.
Well, so a lot of that is very true, and you've got to admire what Australian racers have done and how far we've come with things. The Americans really encircle boat racing and so on until Mr. Big Stuff and War Eagle came along. They never used 1471 blowers or big blowers. They were still running 871s and 671s.
Yeah,
and
wow.
the circuit boats were Bees Myers with that. They might add a 10 on if they were exceptional. So it was the likes of Mike Stock and John Grijalva and these guys that, the drag boats all had them on, without a doubt. The guys showing down the river had them, but the race guys with K-boats and so on, because the little K-boat couldn't handle that sort of blower and that sort of horsepower, so they never went there.
Now they've got a bigger boat, they can handle it.
A bigger boat. I mean, these boats are 22 feet long. They're big. They're heavy. They've got plenty of draft in them. People call them a flat bottom, but I think the flat bottom side went a long time ago.
I don't think they're flatties anymore.
I think they're only a racing craft, but with a little bit less V, But they can absorb horsepower, which is what could never happen before. So all of a sudden, your good circle boat racer guys in America are a bit lost because, hang on, you got these super duper grouse heads, and then you got you put a we run 1671. You got a 1671 on. Where am I going to go with this? So I think Australia's more advanced on that field because we've been running. Well, not myself, but you guys have been running big blowers.
Yeah,
for a
everyone's
long
pushing
while.
and pushing and pushing. We need better.
Yeah,
Right there's just cruising along.
100%. And look, it's fantastic. And as I said earlier, for the money that the Australian racer is spending, double what any American's spending, because they're buying the parts out of America with our dollar and conversion. You really got to admire all you guys that are getting out there and giving it a red hot crack. With Aussie dollars, and that's about as truthful as it comes, because whatever you do is double what the Americans do.
I wouldn't be able to do it. I know Nudo's in the same boat, but I wouldn't be able to do it if it wasn't for a couple of people behind me, a couple of people behind Mick, and it's the only way to do it. But I wanted to sort of keep going a little bit on the Mr. Big Stuff. I've heard stories, this is where I'm going to confirm it or not, that the Mr. Big Stuff boat may be staying over here once it's after the January event.
I can tell you, I'll tell you exactly, so you get it right from the horse's mouth. The boat got suspended in customs, so we lost 2 weeks. It's on the sea at the moment. It will land here in Australia on the 7th.
Oh, wow, you're not getting much turnaround.
So we will have no turnaround.
Jesus.
We'll then load it up. We'll take it out of customs, we'll load it up, and we'll go to the races. The boat will be here for 12 months.
Awesome.
It will be here longer if it is competitive. And I don't say that by engine. I say if simply the boat doesn't like what it's got to do in Australia, or the conditions it's got to run in, or the boats it's got to run against, it's pointless keeping it here. So it will go back and just become a pro stock boat in America. Or we've talked about, many things, many changes, putting it into making it an endurance boat, a number of things. But at this stage, the boat will be here for 12 months. It's scheduled to stay on a carnet, and then we'll make some decisions, John and I, once we really see where it's going.
Yep.
We're going to go fairly hard, and certainly John wants to, into the pro stock class in America. We crashed one 2 weeks ago at Parker, and it's being fixed now. But we'll run pro stock boats, and that class seems to be going to be very good in America. John is also with Gary and Kevin Kinsley and a couple of people, Ty Newton, looking at doing one of those Parker endurance boats where they run for 24 hours.
Yeah, wow.
He's very keen to build himself one of those, which Gary is actually building an engine for now. Look, John and Laurie had a lot of parts in the shed, a lot of good stuff sitting there, and Gary's been able to get his hands on a lot of it, and he'll finish up with a pretty nice pro stock boat in the end of it. As I say, a little bit of a setback when it crashed the other day, but we'll fix that.
So let's hope that it does stay over here and you guys do have an enjoyable year. So that means we might see it run in the NDC.
Yeah, for sure. No,
With an American
we'll run it, and we'll certainly we'll pick courses that suit. We think it'll be very good at Taree.
Yep.
We'll just sort of basically it's going to be up to the boat. And obviously Ty working out what he can do. And then if Ty can't come, well, then we've got to look at alternatives for someone to drive it, which we'll cross that bridge if Ty isn't able to. It's a bit like Kevin with the drag boat. He's going to teach Greg Stubbs what to do. Greg's indicated that he'd like to have a go at the fuel boat. If he's happy to, well, then we can attend more events without having to sort of. The biggest hurdle we have is the Americans being able to get time off to come.
Yeah.
They've got to leave their job for, as Ty is doing 3 weeks, he loses off his business in America, as does Gary, to come out here to run the boat. So, we've got some big decisions to make in that sense. But no, the boat's here for a year, and as I say, it'll tell us whether it's any good or not, and if it's good enough to be competitive as a design. That's why I was hoping the Constables would have run their new boat that they built, and we would have had a bit more traction on.
That's right.
On
where you're heading,
where the boat would head. But our aim was always to bring it and leave it. But our decision was at this time round was to just let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So it's come out on that. Carne, so it can go home if it needs to, or it can stay. One or the other.
That means,
Pretty exciting.
That means we'll hopefully get you to enter in Dad's race as well in September.
Yeah, we'll
That'll be
certainly
ideas.
attend. A number of races and love to. Providing there's plenty of horsepower there. There's plenty of motors. There's 3 engines coming out with it, and it'll have everything it needs. There's gearboxes. There's parts, and I think there's 200 pistons and 200 conrods and all sorts of stuff.
Wow.
But it'll it might all go to not to plan if the boat doesn't handle Aussie conditions.
Yeah,
and
100%.
and look, we've all brought flat bottoms or been with flat bottoms, and flat bottoms have come to Australia. I remember when Neil Johnson brought Justice out, it was very fast in certain conditions, but it struggled in other areas. But the biggest enemy of the flat bottom K boat or the Beesmire was V bottoms, because they'd leave a big hole. When you went in that hole, you couldn't see your way out.
Yeah.
It's like us racing hydros.
Yeah, exactly. And but hopefully this boat with a little bit of V in it, because it does have that, and it's got that little bit of race and craft sprinkled through it to a point. It may go well, but see, no one's come here to really push one fast, and that was the problem when Mike Stock and Duff were here last time.
They don't have enough time to get on top of it.
No.
2 weekends isn't enough to try and work that out.
There's no boat changes you can make in 2 weeks that will make you get around the course faster.
And understand what the boat needs to do, settings on the cav plate and how it should be, how it shouldn't. So, look, we think that by keeping it here for a year, it may.
Yeah.
But all else fails if it doesn't. It goes back to the States, to
As
John.
a better boat to get in. Like, if you're going to have time to work on it over here, it's going to be a better boat.
100%. And, look, it's an unknown for us. We know it's fast. We know it's fast down the straight. We know it turns quite well, but that's a whole different ball game.
Chucking 3 boats beside it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you're in there with everyone else and everyone else is as fast or doing the same thing. So it hasn't had that competition in America either.
Yeah.
It was only of late that Buckle's boat started to get going, and unfortunately Corey had a mishap and it crashed. Otherwise it was starting to percolate a bit and was looking like it could be a bit competitive. But prior to that, the most of the boats in America were Mike Stock's boat was quite fast with Duff, but they weren't there all the time.
Yep.
Whereas the Australian boats, the guys that are fast, Brett
Yeah.
Shepherd and Chris
Yeah, we
Palmer
race
and
it a
so on,
lot.
yourselves, you're all there.
Yeah.
You're all there with each other, and that's a much more challenging push than going out
Yeah.
against one other and
100%. Yeah.
get your own way and
Yeah.
off you go. You know,
yeah.
so I'm personally just looking forward to it being a great time, great racing, great fun.
Bit of good
Everybody.
challenge too.
Yeah, and everybody having a good time.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know,
looking forward to a new team coming on board. Like from America, that's a big draw card for everyone.
well, look, and we, who knows how good's the New Zealand team?
Well, that's another
Yeah,
thing. They
well,
may keep
we-
their boat over
yeah.
here for 12 months as
They
well.
really don't race anyone over there with an engine like that at
That's
all.
right.
They run around with the hydros.
Yeah,
and they're not
we've
really
we've
racing.
been over there and seen it live, and I would say it looks pretty fast in a straight line when you're comparing it to the GP hydroplanes. So we'll just have to see how it goes on courses over here and stuff. Similar kind of thing, I guess.
Well,
I
as
think they'll
Lupton,
struggle.
and Knight would say, don't doubt the Kiwi.
yeah.
And I don't think we should. I mean,
No, absolutely
No,
not.
yeah.
nobody's talking about the Kiwi boat. It's a bit like the Kiwi racehorse. No one was talking about it till
Yeah,
it came in, So, I think it's great. It's so good. I can't tell you how long it's been. I remember the Knight family at St George used to come out, with the old wooden hydro and race, and we haven't really seen anyone from New Zealand much since then. Yanks, we used to have a few come many years ago, but they'd usually drive a boat that was here.
Yeah.
Johnny Robson was probably the last one that really campaigned when Julian Pettingill came out and drove coal fire down at Yarrawonga, or wherever it was, or Boga, Lake Boga, many years ago. So we haven't seen that involvement.
No. The Luptons did it a couple of times and then haven't sort of come back. Well, I know Ken, I'm pretty sure Ken's pretty close to coming back for Yarrawonga for April. So it all depends on what's going on over there with racing wise and how the boat and engines pull up. But yeah, from what he said, he's coming back.
I think he's in Lupton's defence too. By racing in America, he's got some big backing, and that's helped him. Obviously they're a wealthy family in their own right, but having the opportunity to race in America and succeed as he has done, I think that's sort of pushed a lot of heavyweight sponsorship towards him and leaning towards him being in those areas. But look, he certainly proved against the best Americans that
Still good.
the little Kiwi's pretty good.
Right, don't doubt them.
No,
Especially
and
setup wise, and they're brand new boat straight out the box and away you go. And
that's my only tip to the Aussies at Mildura. Don't doubt the little Kiwi there. You might be all looking at the wrong boats, because it'll...
that's no slouch of an engine either. It's a decent engine.
No, and that look, they're not coming here for a haircut.
No,
Yeah,
that's right.
exactly.
In that sense, so we got a lot of good boats, but you never know if there's someone out of the woods.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Look, Craig, we have stolen a whole heap of your time tonight.
Thank you. It's been wonderful, and I hope it's been good for our listeners.
Yeah, hope so.
Yeah, I
think
think
we've
it's been
got
a great chat.
Yeah, some pretty good little bits out of that. We do finish off with a couple of little questions. I think Mick's got them all listed up there.
Yeah, I've got some questions. They're a little bit rogue, so
No, by all means,
hopefully you're all good with them. we have to ask them because we ask everybody that comes on.
100%.
So the first one is, which way do you mow your lawn? Do you mow it like up and down, or do you do the perimeter and circle your way in?
To be honest with you, I've got a 0-turn mower and I go wherever I go on it, all over. I don't have a routine.
Whatever needs to be cut.
Yeah, I just that's an interesting question. I don't think I go the same way any time.
That's probably a good way to be. They do say that you shouldn't mow your grass the same way every time because it eventually sort of lays over.
Well, I'm doing that. There you go. So there, I didn't know
Perfect
that, but I'm
mowing
doing
technique.
it.
Second one, your favourite flavour of milk?
Well, it used to be chocolate milk, but I don't have milk anymore. So,
Oh, okay.
but it used to be chocolate milk.
Yeah, most people would be chocolate. You'd have to be a weirdo to have all the other ones.
Yeah, I was going to
100%.
say, tell Michael banana milk.
Yeah, no,
He'd get all upset.
yeah. I don't mind a malt milk, actually. The next one, where do you piss in the bowl?
in the water in the middle.
So you shoot right in the centre?
100%.
Yeah,
Straight
same.
in the centre.
You got to make it as loud as possible,
Well,
eh?
otherwise, if I marked the seat, my wife would just drop me to death. So I had no chance of me spilling it on the seat. The only trouble is that water, sometimes when you go to the toilet, that water's very cold.
Yeah, when it splashes
You know, when you're standing there going to the toilet, I find it very cold sometimes, that water.
Oh, that's a
I
good
don't
one.
have that problem.
That would have went straight over some people's heads, I bet.
Yeah, mine only gives splashback. I don't go anywhere near it.
Next one, beer, wine, or spirits?
On a hot day, I love a cold beer.
Yep.
But I red wine I drank for many years. I love beautiful red wine. But of latter years now, I Scotch and soda man. Only
Yeah.
Scotch. So I've learned to understand what good Scotch is about. But as I got older, when I was a kid, I just put Coke in it and drank like mad. Now I enjoy Scotch on ice, or I might put a little bit of water in it. But I've learned to understand, what good Scotch is about. So Scotch now is my choice.
Yeah, that's nice. Do you get into like cocktails or that sort of stuff as well, or?
No, not. I used to many
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
A quick one. I had a home with a big pool up on the hill, and my wife put a big party on, and I was getting drunk with everybody drinking Jack Daniels and Coke.
Yep.
And I woke up the next morning, and there was a big litre bottle of Jack Daniels and a litre bottle of Coke, both empty, beside me on the thing. And I was in the water. It's a wonder I didn't die. My wife left me there. And I don't think for the next week I'd ever been so sick in my life.
Right, wow.
So it was a turning point because the sun was on me and the pool was warm. And, I'm probably lucky to be here today. So there's no more of that.
So what is the go-to? You go Scotch or bourbon or?
No, Scotch. No, yeah.
What's your favourite Scotch?
What's your go-to?
Look, my everyday drink Scotch, strangely enough, is Johnny Walker Red, which I'll drink all the time because I love a Johnny Walker Red. But I like a Langlofen. If you've heard of Langlofen,
No.
It's a beautiful single malt Scotch. Any of the really good single malts, the older Scotches, but 18 to 20 year Langlofen is probably my go-to Scotch.
I'll have to pick a bottle of that up. Have a go.
Yeah,
like it.
certainly should. Or our
we're
Tasmanian
going-
Lark from Tasmania is magnificent. If ever you want to try a Scotch that's absolutely outstanding, it's called Lark. It's from Tasmania. In 2014, it won Best Scotch in the world.
Yeah, right.
And it is, it's exceptional.
Yeah, it must be pretty good.
Sounds like we're going to go to his marquee at the end of the races at Mildura.
More than welcome to come over, by all means.
All right, last one. Do you speed or do you obey the road rules?
No, I'm an old man. I just stick by the road rules now.
So you don't get into any road rage or anything like that if someone's in the fast lane? Or...
Days of speeding are long gone, and as you can see, the old Lexus bus out there, it's just nice diesel and just floats along. No, I'm over that. As a young fella, I can confess I was mad, but not anymore. No.
There's enough time gone. You can confess what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, you learn. I think you just learn that as you get older, you've got to go slower. It's
slow,
all right
go
for you. You're
fast.
still going fast.
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine myself in one of the boats today trying to do what you guys do. I just think not on your best day. I'm getting out there trying to hang on to that thing at 150 mile an hour.
Sometimes I'm wondering why I'm doing the same thing. That's usually when my wallet's open, though.
Yes, very true.
All righty. Well, thanks for your time. It was lovely to meet you.
No, pleasure. Look, lovely guys, and I think you're doing a great job. And I think it's a wonderful thing for the sport that they've got you. And it's certainly my honour to be able to talk to you about it. And look, I wish all the young ones coming through that we can take this sport to a level and we can have them enjoy it as well, because we need the young ones,
Yeah,
but we
up
need
and
to
up.
help them pay for it.
Exactly.
And sponsors will do that.
If you look after the grassroots, the rest just grows.
Yes, 100%.
Yep.
100%.
Right.
Yeah, thanks
right.
a lot for coming.
Thanks for your time, Craig.
Thank you, guys.
See you later.
Shout out to Elite Forklifts and Access Equipment. They're your go-to for short and long-term rentals on forklifts and access machines. Plus, they handle all the servicing, maintenance and delivery too. They also supply portable toilets and showers for events and construction.
Also, if you mention the High Speed Garage podcast when you call, you will get a 10% discount on hire and transport. So for all your equipment and amenity needs, remember Elite Forklifts and Access Equipment. And don't forget the High Speed Garage discount.